The funeral was a somber occasion, a quiet gathering of friends, family, and neighbors dressed in dark clothes, standing around a freshly dug grave. A sense of calm had settled over the crowd as the coffin, adorned with simple flowers, was gently lowered into the earth. The air was thick with grief, and the mourners exchanged solemn glances, each holding on to their own memories of the beloved community member they had come to bury. But just as the last few words of the eulogy were whispered, something unexpected shattered the stillness. The sound of hooves pounding against the earth broke through the silence, and before anyone could react, the horse, carrying a lone mourner, suddenly reared up, its body stiff with panic. People gasped, some screaming in shock as the horse flailed in the air, kicking and stomping with all its might. In an instant, the coffin, once securely positioned over the grave, was trampled by the horse's powerful hooves. The sound of splintering wood echoed through the graveyard as the casket cracked open and the mourners froze, their eyes wide in horror. What was happening? The peaceful farewell had been torn apart by a single, uncontrollable moment. The air grew thick with confusion and fear. Was this just a freak accident? Or was there something more? Why had the horse suddenly panicked, turning a peaceful funeral into chaos? Could the animal have sensed something? Or was there a deeper mystery behind its wild behavior? The questions swirled through the crowd, unanswered, leaving everyone on edge. The mourners stood frozen, their eyes locked on the shattered coffin lying on the ground. The air was thick with panic as screams erupted from the crowd. Some rushed back, others fell to their knees in disbelief. The chaos was deafening, but it was soon drowned out by a haunting silence that seemed to settle over the graveyard like a thick fog. The ground beneath their feet had shaken as if it too had reacted to the violence of the moment, sending ripples through the air. What was inside the coffin? The question lingered in the minds of every person standing there, too afraid to approach. The wood was splintered, cracked open wide, and there, partially visible beneath the broken lid, lay something unexpected, something no one had prepared for. The earth around them felt heavy, as if it were hiding a secret just beneath its surface. The bull, horse, now still and standing in the distance, had calmed, its panic subsiding, but the damage was done. No one had seen it coming, and no one could explain it. The mourners exchanged uneasy glances, their minds racing with possibilities. What had the horse sensed? Was there something inside the coffin that had caused it to act so erratically? A buried object, a hidden presence? Or could there have been something far darker at play, a force the animal had picked up on before anyone else? The whispers began to spread, each person more uncertain than the last. The air seemed to pulse with mystery, and a chilling thought ran through everyone's mind. Had they all just witnessed something far more significant than a simple accident? The crowd hesitated, inching closer to the shattered coffin with uneasy glances exchanged between the mourners. The once serene graveyard was now thick with tension, each breath heavy with uncertainty. As they gathered around the broken coffin, they saw something that made their hearts skip a beat. Amid the scattered fragments of wood and the broken flowers, an old worn object lay wrapped in faded cloth, partially visible beneath the lid. It wasn't just the body they had expected. No, this was something different. The object seemed ancient, its fabric delicate and frayed, as though it had been hidden away for decades. The cloth was dark, almost as if it had absorbed the weight of time, and the edges were stitched in a pattern that none of the mourners recognized. Its presence felt wrong, out of place amidst the grief and mourning. The air grew thick with whispers as people began to wonder. What was this mysterious object? Was it something the deceased had kept hidden away for a reason? Could it explain the horse's strange, uncontrollable behavior? Had the animal sensed something dark within the coffin, something buried deep in the past? The crowd's fear grew as the realization sank in. This was no ordinary funeral. Whatever lay beneath that cloth had the power to change everything they thought they knew. About the deceased, some of the older mourners who had known the deceased well exchanged nervous glances. They had never seen or heard of anything like this before. Could it be some sort of relic? A cursed item? Or a forgotten secret that had now come to light in the most unexpected way? The questions filled the air like smoke as the crowd waited, breathless, to uncover what lay beneath the cloth. With trembling hands, one of the mourners stepped forward, unable to resist the pull of curiosity. The cloth, so carefully wrapped around the mysterious object, was gently pulled back. A collective gasp swept through the crowd as the truth was revealed. An ancient, dusty journal lay before them. Its leather cover was cracked and worn with age, but it was the strange symbols etched into its surface that sent chills down everyone's spine. The symbols seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, almost as if they were alive, whispering secrets only the brave would dare uncover. The air was thick with confusion, a mixture of fear and fascination. People exchanged looks of disbelief, each person questioning how such an object had come to be here. Was this journal hidden inside the coffin all along? Had the deceased kept it secret, or had it been placed there recently for reasons unknown? The whispers spread quickly, each one more uncertain than the last. No one could make sense of it. As the mourners continued to gather around, they could barely hold back their questions. Who did this journal belong to? Was it the deceased's, or had it been placed there by someone else, someone with a purpose? The journal's presence felt deliberate, almost like it had a purpose that was about to unfold. The more they stared at the journal, the more they began to wonder, how had it ended up in the coffin? And what was the connection between the symbols and the horse's strange behavior earlier? The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Someone, maybe even someone among them, knew something about this journal, about the secrets it held. And now, that secret was about to be revealed, whether they were ready for it or not. As the journal lay before them, the mood of the funeral took a sharp turn. What had started as a somber farewell was quickly becoming a scene of palpable unease. The once muted whispers among the mourners grew louder, tinged with fear. Some, unable to shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong, began to murmur about foul play. Had someone deliberately placed this journal in the coffin? Was it meant to be a message or a warning? The more they stared at the strange symbols, the more they felt a chilling presence settling over them. Others, with wide eyes and shaky breaths, began to speak in hushed tones about the possibility of ghosts. Could this mysterious journal be tied to an ancient curse? Was it a sign that the deceased had been involved in something dark, something beyond their understanding? The stories of restless spirits, long-forgotten curses, and eerie occurrences passed from one person to the next, each retelling adding weight to the growing sense of dread. The air felt heavier, as if the very earth beneath their feet was holding its breath. Every creak of the trees, every rustle of the leaves, seemed amplified in the tense silence. No one could escape the growing fear that something far darker was unfolding before them. The journal wasn't just an old book. It was a mystery, and it was demanding answers. Is there more to this journal than meets the eye? Could it be a warning of something dangerous, something that was now linked to them all? The crowd couldn't help but feel they were on the edge of something they weren't prepared for. They had come to bury a loved one, but now they were left wondering if they were standing on the precipice of something far more sinister. The journal seemed to pulse with an unspoken promise, a promise that once its secrets were unlocked, nothing would ever be the same again. As the murmurs of fear and confusion continued to swirl around the graveyard, one mourner stepped forward. A brave, elderly woman named Mary, known for her quiet wisdom and calm presence. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the journal, the weight of its ancient leather cover seeming to pull her in. She had been one of the few who had known the deceased well, and something in her gut told her that this journal held the key to understanding the strange events unfolding before them. With a deep breath, Mary carefully opened the journal. The key. Pages were yellowed and brittle, but what lay inside sent a shock through her. Strange notes, written in a hurried, uneven hand, filled the pages. Scrawled across them were bizarre drawings, symbols that seemed to move and shift under the dim light of the graveyard. Some appeared to be maps, others like ancient rituals. As she turned each page, the atmosphere grew heavier, the crowd leaning in to hear the words she read aloud, their breath caught in their throats. Her voice quivered as she spoke the words, aloud, each one like a spell that seemed to deepen the mystery. The drawings seemed to have no clear meaning, but their unsettling energy was undeniable. The mourners were transfixed, the silence around them growing, broken only by Mary's voice. With each sentence she read, it became clear that the journal held secrets, secrets that may have been tied to the deceased's life in ways no one could have imagined. Some of the notes spoke of hidden places, ancient rites, and a strange force that seemed to pull at the very fabric of reality. But what did it all mean? Was this journal a warning, a final message from the deceased? Or was it a clue to something much darker? Something that had been buried with the body all these years? The crowd listened intently, their eyes wide with fear and curiosity. The mystery was deepening, and the connection between the journal and the deceased was becoming impossible to ignore. But one question lingered, unspoken, hanging in the air like a thick fog. What if this journal wasn't just a clue? What if it was a doorway to something far more dangerous? As Mary continued to read, the journal revealed startling truths about the deceased, secrets that no one had ever known. The calm, respected community member had lived a double life, one that was far darker and more complicated than anyone could have imagined. Hidden relationships, debts left unpaid, and unsettling encounters that had remained buried for years slowly came to light. Each revelation chipped away at the image the mourners had held of the deceased, revealing a troubled past steeped in mystery and regret. Mary's voice trembled as she uncovered more, her mind racing with the implications. What had this person been involved in that no one had ever guessed? And how deeply had they been entangled in something far more sinister than anyone had realized? The crowd, which had gathered in hushed awe around Mary, could barely breathe. The questions loomed large in their minds. How deep did this mystery really go? What had the deceased been hiding, and why had they kept it a secret until now? It was as though a hidden world had just been uncovered, one that was both haunting and dangerous. Then, as Mary turned another page, her eyes widened in shock. There, tucked between the notes and drawings, was something that immediately caught her attention: a map. The paper was aged and frayed, its edges torn and worn from years of neglect. It depicted a location none of the mourners recognized, a place marked with cryptic symbols and lines that seemed to lead to nowhere. The map was more than just a sketch of unfamiliar terrain. It hinted at something much deeper, something hidden away for years. It seemed to point toward an ancient, long-forgotten treasure buried in a place that hadn't been discovered by anyone in generations. The crowd leaned in, a mix of awe and fear clouding their thoughts. What was this map leading to? Could it be a treasure, something valuable beyond their wildest dreams? Or was it something far more dangerous, a trap that would pull anyone who dared follow it into peril? The air grew thick with tension as the mourners exchanged uneasy glances, each person wondering if they were now part of something much larger than they could ever have imagined. The discovery of the map had only deepened the mystery. Whatever the deceased had been involved in, whatever they had hidden, was not over. The story was far from finished. Now, the question was no longer just about the journal or the past. It was about the path that lay ahead. Could this map lead to something valuable, or something even more terrifying? As Mary and the others continued to pore over the journal, a shocking new layer of secrets began to unfold. Secrets that were tied directly to the family of the deceased. The journal, with its strange notes and cryptic maps, revealed a connection to an ancient and secret society that had guarded the treasure for centuries. The deceased wasn't just an ordinary person. They had been part of this hidden group, sworn to protect the treasure from those who might exploit it. The family's legacy was far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. Some of the mourners, particularly family members, stared in stunned silence as they processed the revelation. Had they known all along? Could they have been hiding the truth about this dark legacy for generations? The journal seemed to suggest that the family's connection to the treasure was not just a coincidence. It was part of a centuries-old pact, a secret passed down through the ages. Some family members looked away, unable to face the reality of what had been uncovered. Were they complicit in guarding the secret, or were they as much victims of the mystery as the rest of the community? The news of the journal's contents spread quickly throughout the town, dividing the community like never before. Some residents brushed it off, insisting it was all just a coincidence, nothing more than an old journal full of wild fantasies and superstitions. But there were others, those who had always suspected something strange in their town's history, who were now filled with fear and anticipation. They believed the journal wasn't just a relic, it was a map to something powerful, something that could change everything. A sense of unease began to settle over the town. A few townspeople were desperate to find the treasure for themselves, eager to claim whatever riches or power might lie hidden. The idea of treasure was enough to stir greed in some, and they began whispering about following the map, despite the warnings of others who feared the supernatural forces they believed were at play. Could the community handle the truth about their town's hidden legacy? Would the discovery of the treasure change everything for them, or would it tear the fabric of their small town apart? The stakes were higher than anyone had imagined, and now the fate of the town rested in the hands of those who dared to believe in the journal's mystery. Would they risk everything for the chance to uncover the treasure, or would the darkness that accompanied it prove to be more than they could bear? As the days passed and the journal's secrets spread through the town, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She had always trusted her neighbors, but now doubt crept into her thoughts. It seemed as if everyone had become a potential suspect. Had someone in the crowd at the funeral known about the journal all along? Was there someone here hiding the truth, manipulating the situation for their own gain? Her mind raced as she scanned the mourners, friends, family, and familiar faces. One of them had to know more than they were letting on. The more she thought about it, the more Mary became convinced that the horse's strange behavior wasn't just an accident. What if the animal had been spooked by something or someone who didn't want the truth to come out? Perhaps it wasn't just the graveyard or the presence of the journal that disturbed the horse. Maybe someone in that crowd had been trying to keep the secret buried, ensuring that the mysteries surrounding the treasure remained hidden forever. The paranoia was starting to take hold, and Mary's trust in the people around her began to erode. One late evening, as the moon cast a dim light across her doorstep, a knock interrupted Mary's restless thoughts. When she opened the door, a stranger stood before her, his face shadowed beneath a wide-brimmed hat, his eyes cold and calculating. He spoke in a low, urgent voice, warning her not to dig any deeper into the journal's secrets. The words he spoke chilled Mary to the core. There are dangerous people out there, people tied to the treasure, people who would stop at nothing to protect it. Don't follow the map. Leave it alone. Mary stood frozen, the stranger's words sinking into her mind. Who was this man, and how did he know about the journal? Was he speaking the truth, or was he just trying to scare her away? The warning sounded too serious to ignore, yet something about the man felt off. Was he trying to protect her from something truly dangerous, or was he part of the very forces that sought to keep the treasure's secrets buried? The encounter left Mary shaken, but she couldn't help but wonder. Could this stranger be trusted, or was he hiding something as well? Was his warning a genuine attempt to protect her, or a ploy to push her further into the darkness? With her trust in the people around her diminishing, Mary had to decide whether to heed the stranger's warning or continue her quest to unravel the mysteries of the journal and the treasure hidden within. The truth was out there, but it seemed that every step closer to it brought more danger and more questions. Mary's resolve hardened despite the warnings. The stranger's ominous words echoed in her mind, but her curiosity and need for answers were stronger. She gathered a small group of trusted allies, people she felt could help her unravel the mystery of the journal. Together, they began to follow the map's trail, a path that led them deeper into the countryside, away from the familiar streets of their town. With each step, tension in the group grew. The map had brought them to a forgotten stretch of land, the trees growing thicker and the air growing colder. The further they ventured, the more obstacles they encountered, brambles, sharp rocks, and the unsettling feeling that they were being watched. The group couldn't shake the sensation that something or someone was trying to stop them. The closer they got to the hidden location, the more their nerves frayed. Was it the danger they feared, or the unease that came from knowing they were treading where few had ever dared? Mary's mind raced. Would they make it to the treasure site safely, or was this journey going to cost them more than they had bargained for? Each new obstacle seemed to heighten the stakes, and the group could only press on, determined to find the truth. Finally, they reached the site, a small, crumbling chapel hidden in a remote corner of the woods. Its wooden doors creaked as they pushed them open, and the smell of age and dust filled the air. Inside, they found something far more shocking than they had imagined. The journal wasn't just a map. It was a warning. The treasure, hidden beneath the chapel's floorboards, was not meant to be uncovered. The journal's cryptic notes were filled with dire warnings, urging anyone who found it to leave the treasure undisturbed. It wasn't just a matter of wealth. It was about something far more dangerous. The group was left in stunned silence, staring at the broken stone floor where the treasure lay hidden. Why had the treasure been kept so secret, so carefully hidden away? What could be so dangerous about it that it had to remain buried, out of sight and out of reach? The chilling realization dawned on them. This wasn't just a quest for riches, but for something far darker. The treasure might be the key to unlocking a dangerous power, one that had been guarded for generations. The group now faced a choice: uncover the truth and risk unleashing something that could change everything, or leave it all buried and walk away forever. But the question lingered in their minds. What was the real purpose of the treasure, and who would suffer if it was uncovered? As Mary and her group of allies dug deeper into the chapel's floor, their hopes of uncovering gold or jewels quickly began to fade. Instead, their shovels struck something unexpected: a stone slab with intricate carvings. They pried it open, revealing a hidden compartment. But inside, there was no treasure in the traditional sense. Instead, there was a small, weathered box containing a series of old documents. As the group read the documents, a shocking truth unfolded before their eyes. The treasure was not wealth, but a hidden message. The message had been passed down through generations, meant to protect the community from a terrible fate. The real treasure was the knowledge within those pages, a warning to future generations about an impending disaster, a secret meant to safeguard the town. The message revealed the true purpose of the journal and its map. It wasn't just about finding treasure. It was about uncovering the community's forgotten history, a history that had been deliberately hidden to shield the townspeople from a dark prophecy. The revelation rocked the group to their core. The treasure they had sought was not something to be hoarded for personal gain, but a tool to preserve their future. The discovery changed everything they knew about their history, making them realize how deeply intertwined their lives were with the past. The town's survival depended on understanding and embracing the lessons hidden in the message. With this newfound knowledge, the group returned to the town. They shared the truth with the community, and though there were no riches to be found, there was something far more valuable: the understanding of their shared history and a renewed sense of purpose. The town now faced a new beginning, one built on the wisdom passed down through the generations. The mystery had been solved, and with it came a powerful sense of redemption. The horse that had once caused chaos during the funeral was now seen in a new light. It had spooked because it had sensed something more than just fear. It had become a symbol of change, a force that led the community to uncover the truth and redeem their future. The group's journey, once driven by the search for treasure, had transformed into a quest for knowledge and preservation. The town now had the chance to rebuild, to move forward, knowing that the past was no longer a mystery, but a guide to their future. The horse's unexpected role in this journey was a reminder of how sometimes the things that seem chaotic or out of place can lead to the most profound transformations. The mystery was over, but the community was just beginning to understand the true meaning of their history and the power of preserving it.